All right, let's go ahead and get started here. I have about 1 o'clock, so we'll get started. As a reminder, this will be recorded, so we'll have it on our YouTube channel probably in a week or so. We do have a big audience today, so everyone is muted. You can use the chat function to submit any questions or anything you have. I don't anticipate this taking the full hour, so we should have plenty of time for questions to be answered at the end here. So with that, I am going to get started. As everyone knows, hopefully, today's topic is seven mistakes mistakes shops make when recruiting technicians. So I am your host for today. My name is Mark Wilson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of WrenchWay. A little 2-minute information about WrenchWay. We're a software company. Our mission is to help solve the technician shortage. So we work with shops, we work with schools, we work with technicians directly. We really have 4 different kind of products or solutions. The first one, and our only paid one, is called Top Shops. This is for shops, dealerships, anyone that hires technicians. It lets them get access to technicians, gives them recruiting and marketing tools, and a bunch of other things. So I encourage you to check out our site if you want to learn more about that or any of these reverse job posts. That's kind of a cool feature we have in our mobile app for technicians and shops. The technicians can fill out a quick profile. It takes about 10 minutes or so. They just answer a few questions. And then their profile can be seen by shops. So they can't see their name or contact or information or anything like that. But it allows technicians to fill out the information, people that are either actively or passively looking for a job. Shops can then reach out to them. The two sides can have a whole conversation within the app, chat back and forth, all while the technician remains anonymous so they don't get bombarded by recruiters or anything like that. And then when both sides are ready, if there's interest, then they can schedule an interview and things like that. School Connect, we let shops and schools work together to kind of share resources and help improve the industry. And then WrenchWay Insiders is part of our mobile app as well. We post questions each week. We're trying to gather data to help improve the industry, help with the shortage. We then compile all that data and share it with partners. Everything's anonymous. We give people prizes for answering the questions. It's just kind of a fun way that everyone can participate and help solve some of the issues that probably everyone on this call talks about every once in a while. But with that, enough about WrenchWay. Let's jump into our topic of the day. So again, 7 mistakes shops make when recruiting technicians. Honestly, I was told to pick 7. I probably could have picked 20. Some of them overlap though. So I tried the best I could not to put just the basic ones that kind of everyone knows about. To be fair, there are a couple of those in there because you can't omit them. But I tried to think of these a little differently than maybe you normally would. So we'll see how it goes. First one, this is one of those very obvious ones. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but if you don't pay enough, I mean, honestly, you probably don't need to listen to the rest of the other 6 mistakes people make. That's not a knock on anyone. That's just reality. If you've been living under a rock, you know the technician, you may not know the shortage exists, but everyone else is well aware of it. And now every industry is hiring. So we're not just competing for a lack of technicians. There's technicians going to every other industry. I live around Madison, Wisconsin, probably like 15 minutes out of Madison. So not a very big area. I literally stopped over lunch and saw just the gas station is hiring for, $18 an hour for a night shift and $15 for a day shift. So times are changing. If you are trying to get by without paying people what they're worth, you're probably, no matter what you do, are going to struggle. So again, we don't need to spend a lot of time on that. The one thing I will say is you don't have to be the top, just so you're in the ballpark or kind of middle area. But when we have clients that they just are so behind the times and don't pay enough, there's no magic bullet, nothing we can do to help with that. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I think it warranted one spot on the list. The next one, we'll get into a little more kind of fun stuff here. Expecting technicians to apply without really providing them much useful information. So with this, let's pretend we're a technician and you may be not happy at your job. You probably already have a job because most of them do, as I have some stats later. But the normal process to go through to get a job and interview and things like that, First, you become aware of who's hiring. So job boards, or maybe you were referred by a friend or something like that. Eventually you apply. There's kind of an assessment where the shop decides if they want to bring you in. You come in for an interview, then you negotiate all, get the offer, things like that. Lots of steps in between. But what I want to focus on is going from awareness to actually applying. I think a lot of times hiring managers take that step for granted and don't realize how big of a gap it truly is. If I don't know if you've been on a job board lately, I'm guessing you have. If in any decent size area, if you type in auto technician or diesel technician, there's probably hundreds of places hiring. They all kind of look the same. They just have bullets describing things. Again, if I'm a technician, I probably already have a job. It kind of takes a lot for them to apply because it's not just clicking a button. It means I'm probably going to have to take a day off of work or maybe a half a day off of work. If I don't have a resume, I need to get that updated. It's kind of a fair amount of steps involved to actually do that. That stage between awareness and applying, the stage that often gets skipped, we call that the consideration stage. So this is, all right, I want to at least poke my head out, see what's around, but there's 500 places hiring. How do I decide which ones, if any, are even going to be any better than the place I am now? I like to compare it to, we work with a lot of dealerships, so I use stats that 90% of research is done online before anyone even steps into the dealership. That same thing should be and is true before anyone steps into your shop for an interview. You got to get more information out there. Again, another example is if you're looking to buy a house, you're not going to just read in the paper, 3 bedrooms, 2,800 square feet, built in 2002. No, you're going to get on a site like Zillow or one of the others, see pictures of the house, maybe a virtual tour, probably see a layout of the floor plan, the room dimensions, nice descriptions, things like that. Why would we expect anything different in the year we are from technicians that could work pretty much anywhere? Why would we expect them to find out all that useful information when they apply for when they come in for an interview? So instead of that, what they'd like to see at night after they worked all day or whatever, be able to see on their phone, be able to see on a laptop if they log in somewhere, give them real information about compensation. Too many of our clients try to leave it off. A lot of the job boards these days won't even show it to as many people if you leave off compensation, or you put these wide ranges that might as well be left off. Show them the real information. People, if they're scanning through and you're not showing that, I guarantee they're going to move on to the next one. We created our page to include photos of the service area, the place where they're going to be spending 8 hours, 10 hours a day. They want to see what type of equipment they're using. They want to get a feel for it. That's such an easy thing to do, to provide those. And honestly, in today's day and age, it's weird that we don't include that on all job boards and things like that. We created a FAQ section. We actually interviewed a ton of technicians to find out what's the information they care about that is rarely ever part of a job description, or it never goes into enough detail. So information about work environment, how busy the shop is, career development, training opportunities, the hiring process. That's one we left off at first and we added later, because they want to know, is this something I'm going to come in for an interview and then have to come in again and again? How long does it take? Do I need a background check, a drug test, things like that? So pretty simple questionnaire, but more robust than a normal job posting is how we do it. You could take what we do and put it on your own site or anything like that. But the recommendation, definitely put more information out there. You're going to get more applicants the more information you put out there, unless you want to hide some stuff and then maybe you got to fix some things, or you're just, even if you get people in for an interview, they're probably not going to take the job if you're, not proud of some of those things. Videos, will cover a lot of that later here, so I'm going to kind of skip over that one. But the summary version here, share more information. They want the information before they interview. Think of what you'd want if you're trying to decide between not even 500 or 100, even 10 different places. It's not realistic that they're going to go in and interview at all of them. So hopefully that one's pretty clear, but that I just rarely see people providing enough information there. Number 3, So moving too slowly. This one, again, I think is one of our kind of common sense ones. I wanted to leave it off, but I see it too often. I couldn't leave it off. It's painful every time we see it. We all work so hard to get people to apply. And then when we do, you sit around and don't do anything. It's so frustrating as, a partner that's working to help hire people, but it should be frustrating for you as well. When they apply or after they interview, respond right away. The days are gone where you can wait 2 weeks to see who everyone's coming in. It's not like you got to decide right then if you're hiring them right when they apply, but if you think that's someone you want to either jump on a call with or bring in for an interview. Why are you waiting? Yes, I get you're busy, but make it the end of each day. If you're hiring, spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes scrolling through them. You have to make the time. The shortage is real. You've probably seen all the stats out there of an empty bay costs you this many thousands of dollars per week, things like that. Make the time. The short version here is, and don't wait even a day. Send the message right away. A bullet you can see on the screen here is, don't just rely on email. Think about the people applying. They're probably not, if they even have a work email, they're probably not using that. They're using one that maybe they don't check that often, or they get a lot of spam. I know I do. So yes, you can send them an email, but give them a call as well. They might be working during the day though too. Send them a text. I recommend trying all three of those. It doesn't take that much time, but if you have to pick one, based on all the interviews we do, hiring we do across the country, text is by far the best. People respond, they get way less spam in their text. They have their phone on them constantly. They have their notifications on. Send them a text. Works by far better than the other two. But again, I would recommend sending an email and giving them a call as well. And then if your process does take a while, it's not just responding when they apply. After someone interviews, even if you have 3 other people you want to talk to, you can't drag it on forever, but keep them updated throughout the process. Stay in touch. Honestly, even if you decide not to hire them, you probably want to stay in touch, and then down the road, there might be a spot for them. But the kind of summary version here is make the time and be responsive. That should not be as hard as it is. And it pains me we even have to spend any time talking about it on this webinar, but it's just so common for many companies that are hiring. And they're used to, maybe not in this industry, but it's gotten more favorable for the technicians, for the applicant. Like if we, at our company, if we hire someone in the marketing department, we're probably going to get 50 applications, and we shouldn't take our time. But if we did, it's probably not the end of the world. But if we're hiring for something that the talent is so scarce and everyone is looking, I would respond almost instantly. So that one should be clear, but I see a lot of people that agree with that, but very few actually execute on it. Moving on to number 4. This is a big one for us. We're pushing this a lot lately about companies relying too much on the job boards. It's kind of the easy out, the thing we're all used to. Oh, I need to hire. Let me throw up an ad and see what happens, and I'll do nothing else. I'm not saying job boards aren't important, because they definitely are, and it's a big part of everything we preach here, but it shouldn't be the only thing. So if you think about it, who's on the job boards? It's only people that are actively looking. Maybe if someone's passively looking, they might check out once in a great while, but the chances you're going to catch them at the right time, the chances they're actually going to apply, it's just not that high. We'll talk more about, the ones that are actively applying. That's less than 5% of technicians. But let's just focus on the ones that are on the job board. So those, go to any city. I said this already, but I doubt you can see on your screen, but this is from Indeed. It's Portland area. You can see this is one of 593 jobs for an auto technician. Any city, or even not that big of a city, is probably going to have something similar where there's a lot of them. All the job boards all the descriptions look pretty similar. Some are written better than others. Definitely you don't want, spelling errors and things like that. But there's only so much you can do with text only. So you're really trying to say, how can we jump out? You can bold some certain things, of course, share compensation. I talked about that earlier, but there's only so much you can do. So how are you standing out on the job boards? Again, the whole point, this tip that I mentioned, was relying too much on the job boards. I'm not saying don't use them. I'm just saying you have to do more than that. Even if you get someone interested, studies show that 65% of people will look at the job board and then go check out your website. So you need stuff on your website to further entice them to apply. You can't just rely on the job boards and that's all you do. So we'll get into later some of the other things that you can do other than just the job board. Now, the fifth one on here, that flows right into that. Rarely, if ever, do we talk to a client that is doing anything to attract passive candidates. Now, I'm probably going to spend a little time talking about what that even means here. So first, again, the people that either are unemployed or they don't like their job, those are the ones hitting up the job boards. Those are the ones that, they're actively looking for a job. They're willing to come into an interview. Yes, you have a lot of competition to get them to come in, but those are the ones that are going through some of those hoops to find their next job. And there's a lot of really good people in that category, but there's a lot of great people and a lot more people in the category of they're passively looking. They have a job, but they don't love it. You can see on the chart here, there's only about 25% of employees that identify that they're satisfied and they're really not looking. If an opportunity arose, they're just not looking. This is a little worse in our industry than some others, but really almost every industry is about 30%, high 20s, low 30s. So every industry, there's opportunity out there. People, unfortunately aren't thrilled with a lot of the places that they are now. So do you want to fight on the job boards for that 3, 4, 5% that are actively looking? Yes, you kind of have to actually. But are you ignoring the other 70, 75% of technicians that they probably would at least listen to what you have to offer if you devote some time and effort to get their attention? So let's spend some time talking about how you do that. First, don't just post on your Facebook or whatever that you're hiring. Again, I have a job, I'm passively looking, maybe I'd be interested. But if I see, oh, so-and-so dealership is hiring down the street, maybe I'll check it out if you caught me on a day where I'm just really irritated where I'm at. I'm probably going to scroll right past that though. So what are some things I am going to look at? Well, we have some examples here. Don't rush it. It's like if you're dating, don't go in, don't go for, the big proposal right away. You got to kind of wine them and dine them a little bit. So what are some examples of things you can do instead of just posting, hey, we're hiring, here's our benefits here, come in and check us out. Put out a video of how the last month went. Recognize a current employee, maybe do a short video or a post on Facebook or take a photo, something. We have tons of ideas we can share, but talk about how awesome job Jim did at whatever, and talk about how your company applauds people that go above and beyond. Talk about something cool. Maybe you got a really cool piece of equipment in the shop and your techs love it. Maybe you changed up the process on how you do something and your customer feedback has been awesome with that. All of you guys are spending so much time improving your business. I can almost guarantee there's stuff you'd like to brag about. Those make for great social posts. They make for great videos. They don't have to take a ton of effort, but just kind of show off a little. Again, don't think of it for recruiting. Think of it about, highlighting your existing employees or just kind of bragging about what you're doing. But if I'm a technician and I'm scrolling through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, anything like that, and I see a company in my area or a buddy that works at a company and they're consistently kind of sharing stuff and God, it looks like they have fun there. They just invested in their people. They offer training. They put their whole team through this new cutting edge training thing, or they just bought this new type of equipment. Those are things I'm going to stop scrolling. I'm going to click on. I may not go and apply for your job right away, but you'll get my attention. And then on those days where I am irritated with my boss or I am deciding, yep, I'm finally going to look for a new job. If you've been posting those things, you're going to be the first place that I think of. So this isn't going to solve your shortage overnight, but it takes consistency. It takes some time. You don't have to spend a ton of it. Devote a few minutes every week. But if you start doing that and stacking 1 week on 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you're consistently talking about that stuff, you're going to get a lot more applicants. People that never have spent any time on the job boards, they're going to start reaching out to you. That one, I could do a whole webinar about that. And honestly, we spend a ton of time with our clients, giving them ideas, trying to keep them accountable, make sure they're doing those things, because 90% of the people listening to this probably are shaking their head and won't do anything. They'll say, oh yeah, that's a good idea, I'm going to do that next quarter. And then you ask them and they didn't do anything. So they're just, oh, we fired up, we went to Indeed or Career Builder or whatever it is, we put an ad out and no one good applied. So you have to make this a priority, and it helps with so many other things, which I think I'll get into here in a second. I'm kind of big on video right now. My team hears this all the time. We have to get clients doing more video, more video, more video, more video. Why do I keep saying that? Because it works. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but yet no one's doing it. So a couple stats here. I learned by seeing studies and things like that. I started my career as a CPA, so I'm kind of a big numbers guy. So I pulled a few stats on here. Video content on social media, 1,200% more shares than just if you have a post, even if you add a photo. That's crazy to me, but it makes sense. The platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those, they prioritize video. They'll show it to more people. They do that because they know when people are scrolling through, they stop and watch that more often. So use that to your advantage. Job posts that have videos with them, maybe it's a manager talking about a certain way they do a process or why they should work here, or a technician talking about why they like working here. Anyway, some video along with your job post, 800% more engagement. This isn't like 20%, even if it was 20%, 30% better, it'd be worth doing in the market we're in. But 1,200% better in social, 800% better on job postings. Like, why would you not do this? Next one's kind of obvious, 2.6 times longer on pages that contain video, because they're watching the video. You know, like, of course I'm going to stick around more. I may not watch every video on a page, but I'm going to check out some of them. The more they click around, the more they learn about you, the better chance you're going to have to hire them. The last one is a stat we pulled. This is like kind of a duh stat, but I think people get too freaked out about video because they think they need to be polished. They think they need to bring in a marketing agency. They have to hire a film crew. You know, a few years ago, we all had these kind of cute explanatory videos that you'd hire someone, or maybe it's writing on a chalkboard or things like that. Those don't work that well anymore. This is true in marketing or recruiting, but people prefer authentic video. I don't know if it's because of the rise of Instagram, things like that, and that's what like the celebrities, the influencers do, but study after study, and then we just posted videos kind of side by side. Here's a polished, well done marketing one. Or I shouldn't say well done, just a music, everyone's smiling, you know the type we're talking about. They look kind of fake. And then we compared that to just a couple guys talking about why they like working there. If there's a little sound in the background, that's okay. Of course, you want to hear them, but unpolished, it's authentic. It's believable. 97% of the people we had look at that picked the believable ones. I didn't really need a study to show that, but it's hard to argue with some of those results. So that's awesome for us, people that make videos. You pull out your smartphone and you just start talking. If someone was sitting across from you and it was a really good tech that you really wanted to work for your company, I bet you'd light up and you could tell them, here's why you should come here. We do this better than everyone else. We take pride. We treat our people well. You know, you'd go into very specific things, and the excitement, you can't replicate that by bullet points on a job post or anything like that. So pull out your phone, have someone else have their phone, and do that. Get a couple texts together and get them talking about why they're there. At first, it's a little unnatural. So maybe you don't post that one. Okay, you're out the 5 minutes it took to do that. Then you try it again. Guess what? The more you try it, the better you're going to get at it. Frankly, we've built our whole business, not on the recruiting side. On my co-founder, Jay, our director of sales, Kate, they do tons of videos. It's just real authentic things. Them on LinkedIn is where we drive a lot of our business. But video helps so much, and it's so easy to do, and just people are so scared of it. But I don't know if it'll always be this way, that the videos that perform well are the ones we're used to call unprofessional, not for what's said in it, just there's some ums and ahs and, it's not high quality camera, things like that. Maybe we're just lucky the time we're in right now, or maybe that trend is staying, but whatever it is, those perform really well, and there's no excuse you can't start making some of those. So that's kind of my rant on video. Sorry, I went a little deep on that one, but that is huge for anything you're doing in recruiting. People are visual, they want to see those things, and they can do that from the comfort of their couch without having to come in for an interview, but that's what's going to separate you from the other people that are hired. All right, moving on. Number 6, not including your team. This one kind of relates to the last one. You have a whole team of people that at some point chose to work for you, with you. They also choose to stay there, and hopefully you don't have a lot of people jumping ship. If you do, you got to figure out why on that. But your team is the best resource you have. First of all, if you can get technicians giving testimonials, things like that, trust each other more than any ad you're ever going to be able to do, more than anything else you can pay for, anything like that. So that should be kind of common sense. But let's look at some ways that you can include your employees. I'll talk about video in a second because I just went on a rant about that. But first, just getting information from your team. Let them speak up about, if you had a friend that was looking for a job, what's the first thing you'd tell them of why they should work here? Or if you wouldn't recommend us, what can we improve on? You can do this through surveys if you have a big team. It's so much better if you just do it face to face. So allocate some time, do the cliche, bring in some pizza, things like that. Just pick their brain a little bit, meet them with them one-on-one, whatever it takes. Just ask them for honest feedback, make them feel part of it. And then if you do make changes, it's going to lead to more loyalty. So they're not jumping ship or anything like that. But you want to know why they like working here. And if they don't love working here, you want to know why and see if you can fix that. So that's going to help with your retention, which is the best recruiting you can do. Because if you keep your own people, you don't have to find as many others. But let's now talk about how you use it to get new technicians. A lot of companies have a employee referral program, definitely have that. But don't just pay it out if you actually hire someone. Pay it out just for sharing things on social, or if someone comes in for an interview or things like that. I'll get into more detail in a second there. But let's spend a couple minutes talking about everything I just talked about video. Make videos with your technicians. Some of them are shy. They're never going to want to do it. That's okay. But just like any other human, a lot of them will like it and be proud, and they'll share it more. A couple tips we've seen, you can see on the screen. I forget what client this is, but they have a couple of our techs here that looks like we have 4 or 5 videos for. We have found that if you have 2 technicians on the same video, they loosen up a lot more. They're not as nervous. It really shines through that they have a good working relationship, and that's what people want to see. So all of our clients, we give them ideas on how to get techs to do video, how to make them comfortable, topics to cover. There's so much you can do, but if you can get them to, or if you can include your technicians, that is going to be so much more believable, so much more authentic to other technicians, but also the technicians on your team, they'll share that with people they went to school with. They'll post it on their own Facebook, Instagram, things like that. So some specifics on getting them to share, because this is a hot button issue for us as well. So getting employees to share that you're hiring, share a video you did, things like that. I kind of mentioned before how most companies, or a lot of them, do have a referral program. If you don't, you absolutely should. You would maybe pay a third-party recruiter. So why wouldn't you pay someone internally if they bring you someone? Even if say you hire someone 3 days faster, that's going to pay for itself easily to do that. But incentivize them to help out in other ways as well. A big one we have and that we talk about a lot is getting your employees to share stuff on their own social media. So their own Instagram, their own Twitter, their own Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it is. Why do we do that? One, it's a lot more believable. If I see a friend of mine that every so often he or she is sharing stuff about how much fun they have at work, how great of a place it is, how much he recommends being there, I'm going to remember that a lot more than just if a company shares it. But these platforms, they all, just like they like video better because they know people watch that more, they also want to share things from people more so than they want to share things from company pages. There's two reasons for that. One, they want you to buy an ad. So if they just let you share everything and showed it to your whole audience, you'd pay for less of the boosts or the ads or however they have it. But then two, they know from their own research that users pay attention more when people share stuff. So studies have shown, this one we pulled from a third party in 2018, that if you get your employees to share something, it will reach 561% more people on social media than if you just share it from your company page. And that's for the reasons we just mentioned. But get them to share the stuff for a variety of reasons. It works. It's better than any ad you could ever buy from a third party if you get your own team sharing that stuff. So some quick ideas. So some of you might be saying, well, yeah, we always ask them, but no one actually does it. You don't have to have these robust, crazy programs. The simpler, the better. A couple things you can see bullets here. Have small contests or offer incentives just for sharing. It doesn't have to be tied to if it actually leads to a hire or even an applicant. Give them a reward just for sharing. You can do that while limiting your costs. We have two examples that we talk a lot about. One is give $100 Amazon gift card or a tool gift card or something like that over the course of a month or a week. Everyone that shares this will drop your name in a hat and we'll reward it. I'd rather that money go to someone on my team than a job ad, but that $100 would outperform any job ad I ever could pay for. If people don't like drawings, mix it up. Our sales director here, she had a good idea from her past company that we've had some clients try it and it works every time. Buy like a box of candy bars or something like that, 2:00 in the afternoon. Mention to people, hey, anyone who shares this post on their own Facebook or their own Instagram, stop in my office, grab a candy bar. All you have to do is show me a photo on your phone that you shared it. It's kind of quirky. It's kind of funny. Here I am, the co-founder of a software company, and I'm talking about sharing candy bars. But that stuff works. On its own, it won't, but those little things to get employees sharing and talking about how awesome you are to work with, that stuff works really well. I almost said it's free. It's not quite free because you got to buy the box of candy bars or the gift card or whatever, but it's far cheaper than some of the other things that people do. So now the last thing I want to talk about, or the last on my list, and then I have kind of some recap stuff. Not having a system of record. I wasn't sure how to title this one, but basically not being accountable or documenting things. Think about any other part of your business. If you want to improve customer satisfaction, if you want to improve how fast you get vehicles out the door, any sort of efficiency, any sort of certifications you have, everything you have a system that you track that stuff with, that you hold accountable, whether you have a monthly management meeting, a quarterly meeting, whatever it is, you're probably tracking some metrics. You're holding people accountable to achieve the result. So that's obvious. Also obvious, every company we ever talk to says how finding technicians, oh, that's number one on my list. This year, that's the biggest priority for us. That is, or maybe it's top 5 or whatever it is. But everyone talks about that. There's a reason why there's hundreds of people that signed up for this webinar today. But then I turn it around and ask, okay, what'd you do last quarter? Well, I posted a couple jobs on Indeed. We sent out an email and asked employees if they do anything. They're not tracking it. They're not making it a priority. So when I say a system of record, one of the things we did was we made just a simple dashboard for our clients that each month or quarter, you can put goals and you can say, all right, we often say, let's shoot for one thing per week to do for passive recruiting. So one thing per week, there's 13 weeks in a quarter. So over the quarter, 13 things that we can do. We could give them a ton of ideas, but really we tell them, all right, who's accountable for this? It doesn't have to be the owner. It doesn't have to be the service manager. It can be anybody. What video are you going to shoot this week? Oh, I don't have a lot of time. Okay, shooting a video. No one wants to see you talk for 45 minutes anyway. Let's shoot a 5-minute video. So that takes maybe 5 minutes to record, another couple minutes to upload it. Maybe you screwed up and you got to do it again. Now I'm out 15 minutes max. There's so much you can do if you devote 15 minutes a week. But the key is finding a way to keep yourself and your team accountable. If you're responsible for doing a video, or I mean, even you could get entry level person. If you have a marketing person, they could do that. We have clients that have their receptionist do it, someone to do these things. But if they know it's being tracked, and they know at the monthly manager meeting or the quarterly meeting, we're going to follow up to see, did these things actually get done? Big surprise, they start getting done. And you stop having the, oh, I got too busy, we'll get to it next quarter, stuff like that. So I don't care if you use our program, if you track it in Excel, if you track whatever, but find a way to have a system to record if you actually did it. I used the example before of getting employees to share a video, track how many of them shared. We track page views to the kind of the career site we build for companies. Those always increase after you get employees to share a video. Within the next few days or week, those numbers shoot way up. Those are things that if you start recording, you'll start believing it more that, hey, these things do work. Maybe a lot of people didn't apply right away, but over time, you're going to get more people applying. So the summary version here is hold your team accountable, document things. A lot of people use their ATS, if you have one, to track to make sure you're following up with candidates. That's great. But where they fall is they don't track what are the things you're doing for passive recruiting. All right, so a couple final thoughts. And again, putting this together, so much of it kind of overlaps, and it's kind of hard to limit stuff to just 7. So I put just some final thoughts here that I kind of covered a little bit here, but I want to go through again. If you're signed up for this webinar, if you're listening, whether it's live or recorded, the shortage is probably affecting you. You're looking for solutions. It's not getting any worse. We work with a lot of schools. Their enrollment numbers are down. During COVID, they dropped, and it's kind of not getting better. We're all trying to solve that. But for the time being, I would bet anything it's going to get worse before it gets better. So you need to make this stuff a priority. Number 2, there's not a magic bullet. Everyone wants, oh, WrenchWay, you guys work with people to hire technicians. Can I just sign up and then I'll find someone right away? I wish I had that. I wish I had a machine in my basement to clone the best techs in the world. It's not practical. We don't have an army of just, here's 20 people in your area that are awesome, great workers, and they're looking to get hired tomorrow. No, we have to work for it too. There's no magic bullet. Like I said all along, you have to be able to devote some time, just like you do to try to get customers or anything else. You have to work at these things. I always tell people, our job partly is almost like a fitness trainer. I can show you what workouts to do. I can give you all the equipment. I can maybe even get you to come to the gym, but I can't bench the weight for you, or I can't run the 3 miles on the treadmill or whatever it is. You're going to have to do some of the work yourself. We can guide you along the way. But this idea that I'm going to find the best job board ever, and that's where all the techs hang out, and they're all wanting to come work for me for not the best pay. Let's get that out of our head. You have to be proactive about it. That flows into the next one of just always be recruiting. It's a mindset. Too many people don't think about it until they need somebody. A lot of these passive things I talked about, even if you're not hiring, they'll help with retention, they help with recognition, they help get people to stay. But at some point, someone's going to retire, someone's going to get sick, someone's going to leave, their husband or wife's going to get a job and they get transferred. So even the best companies in the world are going to lose people for whatever reason, or you're going to grow and just need more people. You got to make this a priority, always be recruiting. Going on to the next point, it only takes, well, you can make it take more and you'll perform better if it does, but there is so much you can do with just 15 minutes a week, 15 minutes per week of do one thing every week. Again, kind of like working out, knock a few of those weeks together, stack them on top of each other. You're going to start seeing results, not right away maybe, but after a couple months, you're definitely going to see results. And then don't fall out of the habit. You got to keep doing it. Everyone makes excuses. Stop making excuses, but then 2 seconds later talk about how frustrating it is you can't find technicians. Let's eliminate the excuses and start doing some of these things. And when we do them, document it, measure what's working, measure what doesn't work. What works today may not work 5 years from now. I talked about how people love those real authentic videos now. Maybe some cool tool will come out and videos will have to go back to being kind of professionally done, or at least look that way, and those perform better. I don't know, but I know right now the stuff that works. And if the more you document that, the more you measure it, you can track how it's working. And then the last one, embrace video. You guys have heard me talk enough about that today. Whether it'll be forever or just right now, I can tell you, if you walk away with this for one thing, well, number one, I'd say do one thing every week. But number two, embrace video. Maybe make that one thing every week, do a video, things like that. Those two things, you'll start seeing results almost guaranteed. Unless we go back to our first point, you're just not a great place to work at, then you got to work to solve some of those issues first. So kind of maybe a little different webinar than we normally put together. But some of those were just frustrations I've seen, and seeing the same thing over and over with companies I talk to. Most of our clients do a good job, but other companies that talk a big game of how much they want to do, and then you start asking them to do some of these things, and you make it very easy for them. 5 minutes, 10 minutes here, and they come up with reasons why that won't work for them. So we thought we'd make a kind of a webinar with compiling some of that list. Hopefully this was somewhat useful for you guys. Maybe everything won't fit for you, but hopefully you can pull one or two things out that can help you find those technicians, keep them in the industry. We're losing too many people, and then get them to tell others to join the industry. So with that, I am going to close it up, or excuse me, move over for questions. You can see my contact and my ugly mug here on the screen. If you want to reach out about anything, shoot me an email. We have an awesome team. Myself, one of us will follow up with you. But Sarah, do you have any questions that came in?
Yeah, we do have a couple here. The first one is, how do we know what is competitive pay rate?
That's a good question. So we actually are, maybe I'm not supposed to say this yet, but we are coming out in early 22. Because we work with companies all across the country. We try to pay for a lot of that data, and a lot of it's not very good. So we want to create our own. So we're surveying things like that to aggregate as much data as we can. That's not available now. That it'll take us a while to get that exactly right, I think, but you got to start somewhere. So look for that. But in the meantime, things are localized. We're doing this for some of our clients. We may start doing it for all of them, but you could do it yourself. Look at the job boards of who else is hiring. Pretend you're a tech and that you're trying to attract, and let's see what's available at other places in your area, in your city. Find comparable jobs. Like I said, most of the job boards, you have to post salary now. There's a lot you could do with a half hour of digging to find out. You could even go a step further and reach out to the company. I have a little mixed feelings about that, because you don't want to lie too much, but also I think all that information should be transparent anyway. But the summary version, spend a half hour seeing what competitors, meaning competitors, people you're competing for talent with, are offering. Document that in a spreadsheet. We have one, Sarah, we can probably put it on our website, maybe, of just things that you should document when you do that. That's the best way to do it. Real quick, I know I'm rambling a little on this one, but I own part of a restaurant myself, and one of our biggest food providers, after COVID, we had to raise our rates, and I was a little nervous about that. So a very large company that we deal with, they have all the data I could ever think of. I asked them, what restaurants our size around our area charge for certain things. They sent it to me, but it just didn't seem quite right. So I went around to all the local restaurants that I considered similar to ours. I got a beer there, I got a burger, whatever it was. I took a picture of the menu, and then I compiled my own information. I didn't need thousands of data points. I think I did that for like 10 or 12, and then I adjusted there. You can do similar things on your own. We're trying to help with that and aggregate the data. But in the meantime, the best thing you can do is, recruiting is so localized. Spend a little time and work to try to find that. Hopefully that makes sense.
Perfect. The next question is, how are you getting your app in front of technicians?
A lot of different ways for that one. So we advertise it, we pay for ads. Our app is not just about finding your job. So we give away prizes. A lot of people in this industry want to help and they want to improve it. So we market it yes, you can find a job that way, but also you can win prizes. We're building new features, like a couple of the things we have coming out here shortly. One of them is a place to have a list of all the tools you have, so you can give that to your shop for insurance purposes. A place, take photos of cool projects you're working on, take notes, things like that. We're getting people in the industry to post short little videos and create kind of quizzes, just fun content. So the app itself, we're adding things that techs are asking us for, and then therefore they refer others. The app is about a year old, so it's still pretty new. The best thing we can do is get technicians referring it to others. But as far as marketing it, normal marketing stuff, ads all over the place. We actually just started on TikTok, and I've been amazed with how many responses we get there, how many technicians are on TikTok. We've seen our app downloads increase just in the 2 weeks we've been on it. And then lastly, we are working with a lot of the tech schools across the country. So they are encouraging their students as they enter the workforce to download the app. We let the schools post what we call challenges, basically little surveys, so the schools can track how their students are doing. Not just did they find a job, but how are they doing a year down the road, 2 years, 3 years. It's going to take a while to build that, but the schools, they want that data. So they are encouraging, because we're not charging the schools anything, they're encouraging their students to use it. So we've seen a big uptick in the kind of student / entry level technician just by partnering with the schools. Sarah, go ahead, next question.
Perfect. Let's see. Who should be the main person responsible for creating content like videos?
It varies. The short answer is whoever's actually going to do it. I think the key is someone with a more senior title, whether it's the owner, service manager, HR director, has to be accountable to make sure it actually gets done. But the person to actually do it, it's who's willing to do it. I'm a big believer in, if you give, I hate to say lower level people, but more like early in their career people, tasks like this, opportunities, projects that they can kind of take ownership of, they'll make it their own. They want to show that they're committed, that it's kind of a little different project for them to do. So they run with it. We have some smaller clients that have their receptionist do it. That's just kind of a fun thing. The dealership groups that we have, a lot of times it's their HR or marketing people do an awesome job on it. There's no universal answer, but it's got to be somebody who's actually going to do it, number one. And then better yet, have somebody with some authority making sure it's getting done. Whether you set a goal of doing, say, 5 a quarter or 1 a month or whatever it is, there's got to be some accountability there. So I wish I had a better answer of exactly who it should be, but I think that should make sense for everyone listening.
Next question is, how much does WrenchWay cost?
Yeah, I mentioned at the top shops part is the only thing we charge for. It's $150 a month per shop. There's a setup fee too, and it kind of depends if you need one location, if you're a dealer group that has several. Reach out on WrenchWay. There's a form. Our sales team will definitely help you with any of that. But we want to make it something that my co-founder, Jay, his dad has a shop here in Wisconsin, real small rural town. And then we have mid-sized clients all the way up to one of our biggest and most loyal clients is Lithia Motors. We purposely wanted to build this that it's not just the Lithia's, Dan's Auto Center, which is Jay's dad, those guys can use it too. So we try to keep it, we're a business, we got to feed ourselves and our employees. So there is a fee, but for $150 a month, rarely does anyone argue with the price. It's more when they realize they can't just plug it in and magically text show up at their door. They have to do a little bit of work alongside us, and we'll kind of coach them there.
Great. Okay, I think there's one more question. If anyone else has questions, there's still a little bit of time, so feel free to submit them through the Q&A. The question is, how do you get management to buy into being more proactive about recruiting?
Yeah, I would turn it around on them, because chances are they complain that they can't find people. So you can't talk out both sides of your mouth. You can't say how annoying it is that we can't find anybody to work, that we would make so much more money, we're turning away customers, whatever it is. Not everyone, almost everyone hears their managers or owners talk like that. But then if they don't want to invest any money in doing it, The things that worked 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you got to try something new. So I would kind of turn it around on them and say, hey, this is where a bulk of our revenue comes from. Or last week you were complaining about this. We have to start doing something. You got to invest some money. We're not talking tens, 20s, $100,000 or anything, but start with some budget, try something, see what works, and then kind of grow from there. That should be honestly pretty easy though, I would think. And if they still won't, maybe the pain point's not big enough for them. But most people, it's a big enough pain right now that they're missing out on revenue by not having full bays. That should be kind of a no-brainer, I think. I'd say if someone's asking that question, it might be because they haven't really felt the pain, the pinch, the shortage too much yet. But I bet it's coming. I hope it doesn't for your sake. I hope you stay fully employed, but I bet you'll see that soon. Any others, Sarah?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, again, we will have this. Sarah, you actually probably know better than me. What's it take? A couple days usually for us to get the recording emailed out to people and posted on wherever we post it?
Hopefully by tomorrow, but definitely by early next week. And
Okay.
it'll also be available on WrenchWay's YouTube channel.
Sounds good. One last kind of shameless plug here. We have our annual event called Tech Mission. We bring together tech shop schools. Instead of just me talking, it's a roundtable. We get different viewpoints. It's over 2 days. We have 8 different sessions, completely free event. If you are listening to this, you probably saw our marketing at some point. So you'll see marketing for that as well. But definitely would encourage you guys to sign up for that. We're learning too. We all want to solve this shortage together, or at least help improve the shortage. Check that out, Tech Mission. It's our second year. We learned a lot last year, and we have some really cool things coming up for this year. So last thing here, Sarah, remind me the date on that again.
We are looking at November 10th and 11th.
All right, sounds good. That's all we have for you. Thanks, everyone.